The retirement party is on the third floor. Fluorescent lights, a folding table pushed against the wall, with a sheet cake from the grocery store 2 blocks south. White frosting, blue trim, and the name Gail in cursive that looks like it was written by someone who was already decorating the next one. 41 years. That's what the card says. 41 years of service. Everyone signed it. Nobody wrote more than their name. Gail is standing next to the cake with a gift card in an envelope, and she's crying. Not the kind of crying that comes from joy. The kind that comes from standing in a building you gave 4 decades to and realizing it will forget you by Thursday. Someone turns on a playlist from a phone speaker. Someone else pours ginger ale into paper cups. The lights buzz. Nobody knows what to say, so they eat cake. You're standing near the back of the room, 24 years old, 3 months into this job. You haven't touched the cake. You're watching Gail try to smile while a man from accounting tells her she'll finally get to enjoy life. And you're thinking about a number, not Gail's years, yours. You pull a napkin from the table and write it down. 7,665. That's how many mornings you would have to wake up to an alarm if you followed the same road Gail just walked off of. 7,665 mornings of someone else's schedule wrapped around your life like a zip tie. You fold the napkin, slide it into your pocket, and decide, not loudly, not dramatically, not in a way anyone in that room would ever notice, that you are going to find the exit before the building finds it for you. You get a studio apartment 3 miles from work. Your salary says you can afford a 1-bedroom. You take the studio. 480 square feet, a window that faces a parking lot, a kitchen so narrow you can touch both walls if you stretch your arms. You buy a mattress, a desk, a lamp, and nothing else. Not because you're broke, because every dollar that doesn't go into the apartment goes into a brokerage account you opened on your phone during your lunch break. Your savings rate is 68%. Nobody tells you that discipline is a form of disappearing, that the quieter you live, the less people understand you, that saying no to things you can afford is a language most people cannot read. Keisha takes you shopping for your birthday. You walk through 3 stores and buy nothing. She holds up a jacket, soft, wine-colored, marked down, and says, "Treat yourself, you deserve it." You smile and say, "Maybe next time." She puts it back, doesn't say anything. But you catch the look, the small crease between her brows that means she's worried about you, but doesn't want to say it out loud. Donna calls on Sunday. She always calls on Sunday. "You still in that little place?" she asks. You say yes. "Baby, you have a degree now. You don't have to live like that." You tell her you like it. She goes quiet for 2 seconds too long, then changes the subject to the weather. A coworker named Jerome leases a new Audi, pearl white. He parks it in the front row where the sun hits it, and everyone walking in from the lot has to pass it. He mentions it 3 times before lunch. You eat at your desk with the door closed and move $1,400 into your index fund. At night, you sit at your desk in the corner of the studio and build. You don't know what to call it yet. Later, you'll call it a course. Right now, it's just something you know how to do, broken into pieces and recorded on your phone, propped against a stack of library books because the tripod won't fully extend in a room this small. The lighting is bad. The audio has a hum. You record 7 modules over 3 weeks and upload them to a platform you found at midnight on a Tuesday. Nothing happens for 11 days. Then, at 1:47 a.m. on a Wednesday, while you are asleep, while the parking lot outside your window is empty, while the world is closed, a notification hits your phone. $47. Someone in a time zone you've never visited just bought something you made. You stare at the screen in the dark, not because of the amount, $47 is not freedom, but the principle beneath it, that money can move toward you while your eyes are closed. That principle is everything. You go back to sleep. But something in the architecture of your life has shifted. A door you didn't build has opened 1 inch. The course sells. Not like wildfire, like weather. Slow and constant and impossible to stop once it starts. $1,900 in a month. Then $2,600. Then $3,400. You don't change anything about how you live. Same studio, same lamp, same mattress. The parking lot is still there every morning. The only difference is a number on a screen that moves while you're doing other things. You start writing. Not for anyone yet, just writing. A manual, a guide, something that holds everything you've learned in a container that doesn't need you standing behind it. You write it in the mornings before work and at night after the building empties. 5 months. That's how long it takes. 5 months of sentences and revisions and a cover you design yourself on a free tool you found at 2 a.m. You upload it. You price it at $29. The first copy sells. On the third date, he picks you up and sees the studio apartment, the narrow kitchen, the desk in the corner, the mattress on a frame with no headboard, and he doesn't say anything that night. But on the fourth date, he asks, gently, like he's trying not to offend, why you still live like that. You have a good job, he says. You could get a real place. You say you like it. He stops calling after that, not because he's cruel, because he can't read what you're doing. From the outside, your life looks like it's stalling. From the inside, it's compounding. Keisha says you're self-sabotaging. Donna says you're being difficult. You don't argue with either of them. You go home and check the dashboard. The course and the book brought in $6,200 last month. Your investment portfolio just crossed $147,000. You close the laptop and sit in the quiet of the room you chose on purpose. 29. You start the third layer. The course has an audience. The book has readers. You know what they need because they tell you in emails, in comments, in messages you read on the bus ride home. So you build it. A small store, online. Physical products that sit inside the world you've already created. Things people can hold in their hands. You design them yourself, source them carefully, price them fairly. The store opens on a Tuesday. The first order ships Thursday. 3 currents now, all flowing without you standing in the water. You sit in your car one evening in the parking lot of your job, the same lot where Jerome's Audi used to sit before he traded it in for something more expensive he also couldn't afford, and you open your phone. The course, the book, the store, the portfolio. You add the numbers. Then you open your budget. Rent, food, insurance, phone, everything. The income from your assets, just the assets, not the salary, now covers every line. All of them. Every bill, every expense, every cost of being alive. You set the phone on the dashboard and stare at the building. 4th floor lights still on. Somebody in there is staying late. Somebody in there is answering emails at 7 p.m. because they think it proves something. You used to be that person. The alarm goes off the next morning at 6:15. You lie still for a moment. It sounds different. Not quieter, not softer, just optional. For the first time in 5 years, the alarm doesn't feel like a leash. It feels like a choice. And you choose to go in. Not because you have to, because the extra income accelerates everything. That distinction between have to and choose to is a door most people never find. You keep going, not out of need, out of math. Your portfolio crosses $280,000, then $340,000, then $400,000. The store does $4,800 in a single month. The course has been updated once and keeps selling on its own, like a machine you wound up years ago and never had to touch again. The book is approaching its 2,000th copy. You haven't promoted it in 11 months. You start pulling back at work. Not dramatically, you just stop volunteering. Stop raising your hand for projects that require weekends. You leave at 500 sharp. You eat lunch outside, on a bench, in the sun, because you can. Your manager notices. Her name is Adrienne. Silver earrings. Always carries a planner she never opens. She stops you in the hallway one afternoon and says, "You used to be the first one here." You smile, not dismissively, genuinely. "I still am," you say, "just not here." She doesn't know what that means. You don't explain. 34. Your portfolio crosses $520,000. Your 3 assets produce a combined $8,400 per month. Your monthly expenses are $3,100. You are making more asleep than most people make awake. And nobody, not Keisha, not Donna, not Adrienne, not the security guard who waves you in every morning, has any idea. You give 2 weeks' notice on a Friday. You write it on plain paper, no letterhead, no emotion, just the dates and a signature. Adrienne calls you into her office. She closes the door. "Where are you going?" she asks. You say, "Nowhere." She waits for the rest of the sentence. It doesn't come. She asks if you have another offer. You say no. She asks if everything is okay. You say yes. She looks at you the way Ellis looked at your apartment, like she's trying to read a language she doesn't speak. Your last day is unremarkable. No sheet cake, no card, no gift card in an envelope, no playlist from a phone speaker. You close your laptop for the last time, slide it across the desk, and stand up. The woman who sat next to you for 3 years says, "See you Monday." You say, "Yeah." You don't correct her. You walk out carrying the same bag you carried in 10 years ago. The security guard nods. "Have a good weekend." You nod back. The glass doors close behind you. The building keeps going. The 4th floor lights are already on for whoever stays late tonight. You drive home. It's 4:47 p.m. and you will never set an alarm for work again. Tuesday, 9:14 a.m. You're sitting in a cafe with a book open on the table and a cup of something warm going cold beside it. The sun hits the table at an angle you've never seen before, not because it's new, but because you've never been in this room at this hour on a weekday. Every morning for a decade, this light existed. It just wasn't yours. Now it is. Keisha calls at noon. "You free for lunch?" You say yes. She laughs. "Don't you have work?" You say no. A pause, longer than it should be. "What do you mean, no?" You tell her, "Not everything, just enough." She goes quiet, then says, "Wait, you've been building all of this the whole time? While I was telling you to buy a jacket?" You laugh. It's the first time in years that someone sees the shape of what you've done and doesn't flinch. You drive to Donna's house on a Wednesday afternoon. She opens the door in her housecoat and says, "Shouldn't you be at work?" You say you left. She pulls you inside, puts the kettle on, sits across from you at the kitchen table and says, "Did they let you go?" "No," you say. "I walked out." But what will you do? You pour the tea, set the cup in front of her, sit down. This. She stares at you for a long time, not with confusion, with something older than that. Something that looks like a woman realizing her daughter just solved a problem she spent her whole life believing was permanent. You drive one more place, not to celebrate, not to prove anything, just to close something. The Thai restaurant is still there. 8 tables, vinyl booths with tape on the seats, pendant lamps, a TV playing a channel nobody chose. The booth by the window still wobbles when you sit down. You order the same thing you ordered the night you came here after Gail's retirement party 11 years ago. You don't remember the name of the dish. You remember the napkin. You reach into your jacket and pull it out, folded, soft at the edges. The ink has faded, but the number is still there. 7,665. 7,665 mornings of waking up to someone else's clock. That was the price of the normal path, the one Gail walked for 41 years, the one the world expected you to follow. You smooth the napkin flat against the table, pick up a pen, and cross the number out. You don't write a new one. You don't need to. The pendant lamp hums above you. The booth wobbles. The TV plays It's Nothing. Outside, the world is going to work. You're sitting in a vinyl booth in a restaurant with tape on the seats, and you are free. Not because you got lucky, not because someone handed it to you, because you built it, quietly, invisibly, one layer at a time, while everyone around you was buying jackets and leasing Audis and asking why you still lived in that little place. The sun moves. Your tea goes cold. You don't check your phone. There's nothing on it that needs you right now. Nothing needs you right now. And that is the whole point.